The beauty of the Cornell method lies in how you divide your page. So you're going to divide it into 3 sections. So the first one's going to come down the left here and stop at about here. The second one's going to come this way. We're just going to make that a little bit longer. And the third one is just this space here. So this is going to be your cue column. This is your notes column. And this is your summary column. This should be about 6 inches, the notes column. The cue column should be about 2.5 inches. And the summary column should also be about 8 inches, but it's gonna, you can choose whether or not you want to have it be the entire bottom, or if you want to keep this as your cue column. It's really your choice, so it depends on how long you want it to be. So your cue column is basically for your main ideas. So what are you talking about today in class? Are you covering biology? Biology of what? Things like that. Questions that you may have that will connect to your point. So if you're wondering about the sleep cycle, so if you're wondering about in what cycle of sleep do you dream, you can connect that question of what are the cycles of sleep. You can also put diagrams. So if your professor draws something on the board, it may be a good idea to copy it into the cue column and study prompts. So if your professor says, hey, this is going to be on the exam, then you can do things like draw stars next to them. So you should do this after class. Okay, so then the notes column. This is what you're going to be doing during class. So right there here. So this is exactly what it sounds like. You're taking notes, plain and simple. But here's where the beauty of the Cornell method lies. You absolutely should not write down everything the professor says, not only because your hands are going to get tired, but because you're not learning when you do that. So you're going to write your main lecture notes in your own words. You're learning nothing if you just repeat what your professor says. Because you're also taking this by notes, you want to use concise sentences. So instead of writing things like, oh, this author says this and this and this and this and this, you gotta summarize it for yourself. So in summation, there are blank number of sleep cycles. Here's what they are. You can also use shorthand symbols, if you know how to do that, or even make up your own. So someone that I like to use, instead of writing out with, I can do W with a slash, or instead of writing and, you can do an ampersand, things like that. Also use abbreviations. So instead of writing, this is sort of the same thing as the symbols, like with is a W with a slash is also an abbreviation, but you can also write things like CLD instead of could, or NA instead of not applicable, things like that, etc., go on and on. Use lists. So using lists helps to keep you organized, as well as on topic. And make sure you're putting space in between your points. You can see that all my points have space in between them. That's just purely for organization. And you should be also doing this, I think I already said this, but during class, do this during. So the final column that goes along with the Cornell method is the summary column. This is where you're gonna go after class, look at everything you have, and just as the title says, summarize it. So this is for the top level, main ideas. So this means things like, what was talked about in class? What was the main idea? A really easy way to find this is to go to your syllabus and just read what your professor wrote. Like, so if your professor is talking all about the brain in class, but you're focusing on sleep cycles, that's how you're going to know that for the summary column, you're talking about the brain. And then you can do things like, for example, write the brain and then write sleep cycles, if that's something that you were having problems with, for example. As well, you can use it as a quick reference. So this means you can use your sticky notes or your sticky flags, it would be even better, and say reference page 392 in the textbook, for example. So make sure you're doing this after class / when you review. And that's it. That right there is the Cornell method. This is the Cornell method. Just for a quick review, so you have your cue column to the left, your notes column in the middle, should be the biggest portion, and your summary column at the bottom. Your summary column can either be this little box right here, which extends your cue column, or it can be longer horizontally based on how you think that you're going to need to take your notes. After all, only you know you best, so do it to your preference.